So what we've been trying to ascertain is the suitability of that law, because the government is saying that they're trying to modernise Gibraltar's legislation, but they're ignoring all the evidence that academics and experts such as Dr. Ayrton have given in 2005, in 2013, when the bill was first scrutinised by the House of Lords, and in 2024. They've all agreed that the Act does give ministers far too much power, which can then impact the independence of these inquiries and any public faith in them. In the UK, they have seen that actually, due to external forces, this Act has been used very carefully by ministers. So one example about national security is the Chilcot inquiry, which was an inquiry into the UK government in the Iraq War. And actually, because of all the public pressure that was put on the government, very, very little was actually redacted. Now, what we're saying is, if even an investigation into the Iraq War can be handled in a way where the public are able to see that due process is being followed, there's absolutely no excuse that we can't have that same level of independence and transparency in Gibraltar.
The proposed act that is coming through Parliament is not in itself a matter for the governor beyond his assent. But to the extent that it deals with the McGrail inquiry, and to the extent it may be used in future in relation to the McGrail inquiry, there could be a conflict in as much as the police comes under the constitutional responsibility of the governor as advised by the Gibraltar Police Authority. And therefore the government has no participation in that issue. And we will need to see, it's early days yet, we will need to see how the governor deals with that. One of the essential elements of democracy, as stated by Mr. Dicey, who is the lead commentator historically on constitutional issues, is that in order to have full democracy, you have to have a separation of powers between the legislature, the government, and the judiciary. We have no separation of power between the legislature and the government. Each and every member of government is a minister and therefore part of the executive. That is not democracy in action. They are protecting their own skins.
So there's actually two things that we need to talk about there. The first of those is about the Act in relation to England and Wales, where there's actually been a significant amount of criticism about the suitability of that Act with regard to all the things we're talking about. So this was debated 10 years ago by the House of Lords, and actually, which is quite rare that the House of Lords scrutinises an Act for the second time, and that's happening right now. So if the government was acting to, as they say, modernise the law in Gibraltar, surely they would want to have all the facts, as we've tried to reach out to, and listen to what the House of Lords to say, what experts have to say. But the other element, which is what Robert's been touching on, is that Gibraltar doesn't have many of those divisions of powers, and we don't have the parliamentary system that can prevent wrongdoing in situations like this. So in the UK, MPs are subject to, or ministers are subject to, backbenchers within their own party, they're subject to their local constituents, and they're subject to the pressure put on them by the media and NGOs. In Gibraltar, as Robert's been saying there, almost universally, what the Chief Minister wants, the Chief Minister gets. And so we think that it's doubly unsuitable, this Act, for Gibraltar, because it does just allow them to get away with whatever they like.
I would like to add that in the United Kingdom, the House of Lords Select Committee in 2014 came up with 33 recommendations of changes to the Act, none of which have been implemented in the new bill. And some of those were to take away the right of the government, i.e. ministers,
Yes,
to in any way interfere with an inquiry and give that right to the chairman of the inquiry. And that has not happened in Gibraltar. The government has retained all that power.